Welcome to the Seatrade Maritime Podcast, and this latest episode comes to you from the recent WISTA International AGM in Barcelona. Your host for this episode is Emma Howell, Content Director for Seatrade Maritime News, and I'll hand over to Emma.
Today I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing two ladies at WISTA International AGM taking place in Barcelona this 2025. In the room with me today, I have Elpi Petraki, President of WISTA International. Welcome, Elpi.
Thank you.
And I also have Louise Proctor, Deputy Director, Planning and Programming, Technical Cooperation and Implementation Division, IMO. Welcome to you.
Thank you, Emma.
So I've mentioned we're at WISTA 2025. I'm going to start with you, Louise, and mention the fact that this is the first WISTA International AGM you've attended since assuming IMO's Women in Maritime programme. Has it been what you expected?
It's a good question, Emma. The expectation from me was to be in a room full of extremely professional and esteemed women in the maritime sector and receive a very warm welcome, because I have been told that the energy at WISTA is exactly that. And I wasn't disappointed. It's been a wonderful experience.
Excellent. And Elpi, you are no stranger, of course, to WISTA as the president of WISTA International. I believe this has been the biggest gathering to date.
Yes. Every year, the numbers of our members are increasing, and I guess therefore the attendance to the international conferences. So this year we had around 430 women from more than 50 countries around the world. Few men as well, I might say, not only women attending, and that is exciting to have them all together, to interact, to exchange their professional views, their ideas, and to really be more into the spirit of what WISTA is and what it brings into this industry. The professionalism of women who are there, and they are not so obvious many of the times, but when you come here, you'll see that they are very obvious.
In fact, Elpi, you spoke of progress from creative destruction in your opening speech. And you actually said, what seems disruptive at first can lead to renewal and long-term growth. The same can be said for our industry. Each challenge from decarbonisation to digitalisation is an opportunity to build better, because progress doesn't happen when we step back. It happens when we are together. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I think if we see it on a historical point of view, and we've seen the massive changes in our civilization, if I might say, through history, you will see that there are always big distractions that make people move forward. I mean, of course, there is creativity and innovation and positive things that make innovation go ahead. However, it is at times where we all get together and trying to understand why things have gone wrong, what is not working well. And then maybe we put a bit more effort into trying to improve things. So with all these challenges our industry has ahead and all the different point of views, I think people want to work a bit harder to make things change to a more sustainable way forward. And I really believe that. And it was a coincidence that the Nobel Prize was awarded to these economists who were awarded for that theory, disruption and creativity and technology advantages towards that. And I think we are facing strange, if I may say, times, which means that what we are facing now was existing. We could just not hear it. So now that it's brought forward to us, it's about time not to be rest assured that everything is going the way we wanted it. So we have to work harder towards it.
Are you referencing geopolitical?
Everything. Everything, it's everything. It's geopolitical, it is diversity, the conception is that is out there in the world of what diversity is, equal opportunities, how much we have to work on innovation to improve the industry, and not only our industry, everyone, for a better future for everyone.
If you're enjoying the Seatrade Maritime Podcast, make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing on the app of your choice.
That leads me to the second IMO WISTA Women in Maritime survey results, which were spoken about during the course of the last few days. Louise, you said there's been great progress made, but gaps still exist. Can you talk a little bit more about those gaps and how those gaps are being plugged by that collaboration between WISTA and the IMO?
Yeah, thanks, Emma. I want to firstly say that the Women in Maritime survey has been a very important development because we now have the first global data set on women's participation across both the public and the private maritime sectors. And data like this is so crucial because, as you say, it helps us identify gaps and also to measure progress and then design initiatives that respond to what the real needs are rather than what we assume the issues to be. So it's been a very important development for us. Some of the results indicate some progress, but there are still gaps. We're seeing overall 19% of the public sector workforce includes women, and this is down from in the 20% range from the previous survey. And that may partly be due to a difference in the data set compared to the 2 years, but we are seeing some concerning gaps. Equally, in the private sector, we are only seeing 16% female workforce in the 2024 survey, and that was down from 29% in 2021. So as I said, there's some things there that we need to address. The Women in Maritime program, IMO's Women in Maritime program, and our collaboration with WISTA are very important mechanisms in addressing some of these gaps. And we focus on things like raising the visibility of women's contributions in the maritime sector, promoting active male allyship as well is a really important part of how we're trying to challenge gender stereotypes and some of those cultural barriers. We have a very strong training component, and not just on technical maritime matters, but also branching out into different leadership and mentorship programs. We've just launched recently, last month, the first IMO WMU, the World Maritime University, and WISTA Leadership and Empowerment training course for women. And that's focusing on more to do with leadership, project management, putting women in a position where they can take opportunities and step into leadership roles when opportunities present themselves. And other more practical initiatives like the Maritime Speakers Bureau, which provides a platform for women to register their skills and interest for speaking at events and participating in panels. We've just done a recent upgrade on the Maritime Speakers Bureau as well, and provided additional features where women and men can endorse women speakers that they have seen present on panels or at events. And that gives just another dimension to facilitating women's voice to get out there on the international stage.
That leads me very nicely into a question for you, Elpi. Last year, we met at the WISTA AGM and we spoke about the need to see more diversity on speaker panels. So that's a year that's now passed. Have you seen a noticeable difference?
Sometimes I have seen a noticeable difference, I have to say. I do see more women in panels on conferences where we didn't see before. However, I also see in some places, again, still no women at all. However, what I see very different this past year was that many of the conference organizers or the smaller seminar organizers were always apologizing to me whenever they saw me that they couldn't find the appropriate women. So there it is in their mind. I think we've made that change. We made people aware of what they are doing and how they can affect the visibility of women into that. So first, it's a realization, although we're trying for many years for that. And I think then it's action and the pool of the women that are there in the Maritime Speakers Bureau. And we've seen more people reaching out to the Maritime Speakers Bureau. And I think we were told by the ones who organized the platform for us that we also had the first paid like an organizer paying one of the speakers to attend the conference. So I think there is an improvement. We are still aware and on our feet to see where that doesn't change. And we also try to help. So if people reach out to us, we do try to help. I know it's not so easy. We've talked about this before and we talked about it last year. Some women are reluctant, even with the amazing experience they have and the knowledge they have, to go out there. And that's why we need to continue having public speaking courses, short courses, skill courses for them. And I know with the IMO, most probably there is a masterclass coming up for women who are participating in the Maritime Speakers Bureau, a pre-recorded one with one public speaker facilitator, if I can say that would be provided. We want to enable the women who also are not, because we're hearing that from the conference organizers as well, that they take many no's. Of course, if you have a pool of 500 men and a pool of 10 women, the chances to get all women, like percentages, to tell you no, it's more, because when you have a pool of more men, some of them will reply to the yes. So it's a whole big effort, I think, in every angle.
I couldn't agree more with my conference producer hat on. A really good example, which highlights what you've just mentioned, we needed speakers in Saudi Arabia, which has traditionally been a challenging geographic to maybe fulfill that commitment that we have as well, to have diversity on our panels. But I reached out to WISTA UAE and Rania, and she very kindly found two ladies that were willing to participate, and they came to Saudi and they spoke very well and were very relevant for the sessions. And of course, that's important to reiterate. It's got to be the right person speaking on the panel. It isn't just about obligation of diversity as well. So I think change has happened. I think it's slower than anybody would necessarily like. But I come to events like WISTA and speak to so many women who say, well, I would be happy to be on a panel. They're putting their hands up, and that's something I've seen change. So that's positive progress, I think. Keeping on this week, I understand that 4 new national WISTA associations were announced, Croatia, Kenya, Malta, and the relaunch of Japan. Why are national WISTA associations so important?
Because we are not all the same. There are different needs in each region, different challenges, and WISTA International is just a facilitator there. There is a lot of work happening in our national chapters and associations related to the needs of the industry in that country. Because, there are some nations that are more technically, let's say, approached. So we have more shipyards or more technical providers. There are other nations where we have more ship owners. There are others where we have more ports. It's a totally different demographic. So each of them has the freedom to focus in an area that is relevant to them and to build through that, and to build the network for the women working on these areas, which is so vast. And this is, I think, where we get our strength from, because when we all get together, we are people from every part of the industry who can collaborate and create business opportunities.
And is that also a reason behind the new WISTA International logo that you unveiled this week as well?
We thought after all these years and after last year having our 50th anniversary, it's time for the next 50 years ahead, or at least the 10 years ahead. And we needed, I think, a rebranding. And I think it was received well by all of us, something to reflect the new modern society's, I would say, requests.
And Louise, back to the relationship between the IMO and WISTA. You spoke about key developments, initiatives and tools that you're driving together, and you've mentioned a couple of those areas. In what other parts are you collaborating?
In addition to having Women in Maritime specific program, one of our other important goals going forward is to have not just gender-specific activities, but to mainstream gender throughout all of our capacity building initiatives. And this is where the presence of WISTA International and the national WISTA associations as well is so important, because we can involve them in the design and the delivery of our capacity building projects. So we can incorporate gender-specific modules and information into each time that we deliver. So we're not just targeting women, but we're targeting women and men consistently through all of our capacity building projects. And that's not just about having access to women to participate, but it's to have gender-related content in relation to technical maritime topics that becomes the focus in that respect.
That's a great initiative, and actually that's something I'd like to pursue as a conversation separately for our own content programs. Okay, so it's been a busy week. The overriding theme of this week has been powering the future of shipping and trade, global energy in challenging times. Let's start with you, Elpi. What are your key takeaways from this week?
We had 3 amazing panel conversations, and I was very happy, and I will talk about this, that we had one on trade, because trade is another area that WISTA is focusing upon, and it is, if we think shipping is women, and women are underrepresented in the shipping sector, I can tell you the trading is much worse. So we were very happy. We had amazing speakers discussing about trade, not only women, men as well on the panel. And I would love to see that grow. And I've seen that reaction from the trade industry as well. So they do approach us now. So after 50 years, we are finally there. So I would say this is my key takeaway, of course, being with all the people and ladies from all over the world and seeing them interact and discuss about topics that, as we've said, we have a lot of work to do in our industry to the future. So to tackle these matters and discuss about them, that was my key takeaway, I would say.
Excellent. And Louise, over to you.
Yeah, I think my key takeaways were really, in addition to the panel discussions and some of the maritime themes that were covered, it was very much about identifying and exploring opportunities for enhanced cooperation. And so many women came up to me across the couple of days and said, we're doing this in our space. How can we tap into what IMO is doing? And so I've made a lot of connections and drawing those people into our projects so that we're constantly focused on what's happening in the industry, the new technologies and innovations that we can bring into our projects and help spread that across the maritime community.
Elpi, where is the WISTA International AGM next year?
It is in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. It will be a collaboration between WISTA Singapore, WISTA Hong Kong, CESAR, and WISTA Malaysia.
Amazing.
So we are really looking forward to going to Asia, to having more women from that region join us, and of course from all over the world, and see how that part of the world is doing on diversity.
Well, hopefully this time in a year when we speak again, I'm sure we'll be able to give even more positive updates. Thank you, ladies. My name is Emma Howell. I'm the Content Director for Seatrade Maritime News. Today I've had the pleasure of speaking with Elpi Petraki, President of WISTA International, and Louise Proctor, Deputy Director, Planning and Programming, Technical Cooperation and Implementation Division of the IMO. Thank you, ladies. A delight to speak with you today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Seatrade Maritime Podcast, and we look forward to joining you on our next episode.